There's an animal that is crucial to all of your lives and imperative to nearly every ecosystem on the planet. But media and myths have made it so that they're almost universally hated. Of course, I'm talking about vultures. This is Oasis. Today, we are at World Bird Sanctuary for Alveus Adventures to learn more about our favorite feathered janitors.
World Bird Sanctuary is a nonprofit in St. Louis, Missouri. We are focused on preserving and protecting birds and their habitats through conservation, education, and rehabilitation. This is a fun habitat. Kirsten, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so we've moved quite a few birds around recently. So over here is Blaze, Dakota, and Taz. Taz is showing you his lovely wingspan right now. Taz is a turkey vulture. This is our mixed species habitat. We've got Dakota, who is a Swainson's hawk, Blaze, who is a Harlan's red-tailed hawk, and then Taz, our turkey vulture.
Wow.
The best part about this habitat is that Blaze and Taz are besties.
Really?
It's one of those really weird things that just kind of happened. It went way better than expected. Blaze and Taz are together all the time. You may also notice that everyone is exploding feathers. We are in molt season. I swear everything was cleaned yesterday.
Vultures are incredible. They are so well adapted to cleaning up all of the gross disease and anything that we don't want in the environment. They're the perfect nature's cleanup crew.
Without vultures, humans would be responsible for disposing of all naturally deceased animals and roadkill, an unexpectedly dangerous and expensive job. Throughout the Americas, turkey vultures alone are credited with performing between $500,000 and $700,000 worth of cleanup services every year. Not only are these birds exceptional at removing carcasses, their stomach acids are also powerful enough to stop the spread of diseases to humans and to other wildlife.
Okay, so we've got Lumpy, Gar, and Hades. They have clearly moved habitats. Since we have 3 black vultures, we thought the bigger one might suit them a little bit more, especially since they love flying around so much.
You'll notice that these birds are not acting like birds should in the wild, and that's why they're here. These are imprinted vultures. In the wild, it is better if wild animals go away from people. Very, very clearly imprinted. Now, the tricky thing with vultures is that it's really easy to accidentally imprint them when they are little. So if you were to find an injured vulture, it's imperative that you get it to a licensed rescue and rehab facility as quick as possible, because they are so smart, they imprint really easily. And then we have birds like this that cannot go back into the wild because they are imprinted.
Someone, Sixth Circus said, how does imprinting work?
Great question. So when birds are babies, they basically learn what species they are. So if they see people when they are very young and not the same bird of their species, they're going to think that they are a person, basically, to put it really simply. They don't understand that other birds are the ones that they should be looking to for food. They don't understand that other birds are the ones they should be looking to for mates. And that obviously creates a big problem.
Unfortunately, vultures are one of the most imperiled groups of birds in the world. Globally, 16 species of vulture are considered near-threatened, vulnerable, endangered, or critically endangered. You've heard some of their stories before, like the ongoing efforts to restore the California condor. But to learn more about the problems these birds currently face, we shift our focus to Africa and Asia.
Diclofenac is a cheap painkiller used in cattle to help extend their working life. But sadly, it is toxic to vultures that feed on the carcasses of the cattle. This drug led to 95% of the Indian vulture population collapsing in the early 2000s.
So vultures eat dead things and they kill all of the bacteria. They get rid of all of the disease that the dead thing might have. They remove that from the environment. So vultures are our cleanup crew. They are critically important for the environment. And if they are not there, then we as people have to spend probably billions of dollars on human health. In India, there was a vulture crisis. It's been a few years now, but they basically lost 95% of their vultures. And what happened were the other animals tried to take the role of a vulture. Other animals came through and were scavenging. And the big animal that came through to scavenge was a feral dog. Feral dogs do not have the strong stomach acids that vultures have, so they cannot remove the disease from the environment. And the feral dogs actually spread things like rabies. And we had almost 50,000 people die from rabies in India because the vultures were disappearing. Yes, just in India.
The problem does not just persist in India. In Africa, vultures face other serious threats, including targeted and secondary poisoning and electrocution. They're even sought after for uses in traditional medicine. Due to the feeding habits of these extraordinary scavengers, they're an easy target for poachers, but not in the way you might think. When vultures are circling a carcass, they often act as sentinels, and they can alert authorities to a poaching incident. So poachers will intentionally lace a carcass with poison with the intent of taking out as many vultures as possible. Again, due to these feeding habits, this can result in the death of hundreds of these critically important birds at one single carcass. As a result, nearly all of the species in Africa are labeled as vulnerable, near threatened, endangered, or critically endangered, and we're at risk of losing several of these vulture species in our lifetime.
Oh no. This is why we saved her for last.
Look, this is Oasis. Now, Oasis is another one of our younger, newer ambassadors. So we're making our way out here nice and slow so she can get nice and cozy.
So anyone who follows Alveus knows that I have a soft spot for vultures. And there are a couple animals that I credit with kind of the trajectory that my professional career has taken. And one of those is an Egyptian vulture named Bob. So 10 years ago, in 2014, I took a position out in Nepal with the Parahawking project. And the Parahawking project had a mission to educate people about the vulture crisis, specifically in Asia at the time. And I worked for a falconer named Scott Mason, who had rescued 2 non-releasable Egyptian vultures, and he had trained them to fly with paragliders to allow people an experience with vultures, this misunderstood animal that is kind of like the sky version of swimming with sharks. So it gave people a different perspective on these criminally misunderstood and incredibly beautiful birds. And there was no bird like Bob. So when I first started working in this field, I never thought that I would fall in love with birds of prey until I got to Nepal. And I have this distinct memory of my boss sitting down with Kevin, one of the Egyptian vultures, and saying, by the time all of this is over, you are going to love Egyptian vultures. And he was right. And it took no time at all for me to fall in love with Bob. Bob was the calm to Kevin's chaos, if you will. And he was just this easygoing guy. And it's amazing when you get to know these birds, how just individual they are from one another. So where Kevin was chaos and he was a great morning flyer, I would go to wake up Bob in the morning and he would be asleep and he would stay asleep. He was our afternoon flyer. He was just an incredibly mellow bird and he was so easy to fall in love with. And I learned so much about Egyptian vultures in that time, and the vulture crisis remains a cause that is very near and dear to my heart today. And what you see in the World Bird Sanctuary video is the first time that I've held an Egyptian vulture in 10 years. And I can't even talk about it now without crying. Bob was an incredibly special bird to me, and it was very difficult for me to leave Nepal knowing that I may never see him again. Since I left Nepal, the Parahawking project was shut down. Kevin and Bob were confiscated. And I cannot thank World Bird Sanctuary enough for giving me the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with Oasis.
You want to hang out with her?
I'd love to.
You're gonna make me cry. I never cry, I'm stoic. So, Oasis is another Egyptian vulture. You guys met Dynasty earlier. Dynasty is a little bit older. He used to do this type of education work, but he's kind of since retired. And now we're kind of introducing the next generation of these animals who are going to work to save their species. There you go. Nice job, Oasis. Yeah, if she goes anywhere, she'll probably just want to hop back to my glove. So beautiful. So I know Egyptian vultures are kind of near and dear to your heart. So we thought it would be nice if you got to meet Oasis a little bit up close. So she is just a couple of years old, and she is part of the Egyptian vulture breeding program here in the United States. That is something that we have been working really hard on at World Bird. These animals are of major concern to us, as you guys have been hearing throughout our entire stream. And some of the work that we're doing is kind of breeding the next generation of these animals, working with partners across the globe to make sure that we have a healthy population under professional care that can then go on to help keep these animals around for many years to come. It's just incredible to get to work with a bird like this every day who has just this one bird has such an impact on the future of this species, right? Like, what an honor to be able to just hang out with her every day. You know, even though we look at her and like, she's a little silly, she kind of looks like a sunny side up egg, you know, she's got a big personality, she loves enrichment, she loves newspaper balls, she loves to play with feathers and Kong toys, but she's also, in a very serious manner, super important to the continued survival of these animals out in nature that do just some of the most important work that an animal can do on this planet.
It would also be really helpful if people realized how smart and beautiful and amazing these animals are and help us spread that word. Vultures are used as the bad guy in a lot of things, and they're not the bad guy, so help us to spread that they are the good guy and we need them.
We hope that after this episode of Alveus Adventures, you have a new appreciation for these very misunderstood birds. Now go and tell your friends and family, and make sure to follow World Bird Sanctuary and all of their efforts to help conserve and protect this critically important species. Bye!